They're maybe less popular, less supported, but that's arguable again. Oh, one other thing about Cedar is that it relies only on Foundation and C++ 11 features. So basically you can use it not only for iOS or OS 6, but in any environment that has those two, meaning Foundation and C++ 11. Now, there's a whole bunch of ways of performing end-to-end acceptance tests. First of all, keep it functional. Testing framework. This one imitates user input by using UI accessibility protocol. So using the accessibility attributes available out there for people with disabilities. Then there is Calabash iOS and there is Frank. These two are iOS testing frameworks that allow you to use Cucumber, and they're written in Ruby. And there is Zucchini, which uses screenshots to verify that your app is behaving as it's supposed to. So basically comparing two screenshots. Now, big other slice is documentation. First thing is Dash. It's a must-have documentation browser and code snippets manager. It allows you to download 80-something sets of API, documentation of APIs, different languages, frameworks, allows you to browse, search through them quickly, and it really is very convenient. The thing is, the only minus is that it's not free. But there is a free version which only is different. It gives you 8 seconds, I think, delay between you hit the search button and it gives you the results. I think that's the only thing that it has. So it's not that quick of a search, but the rest is the same. These two tools are out there to generate documentation. So if you like the way Apple documentation looks and you want the same look for your libraries, then you don't need to look anywhere else. There is Apple Doc. So that's the kind of documentation it can generate, and it looks pretty identical to Apple's documentation. And if you have C++ background, you certainly know Doxygen, right? So that's kind of standard out there for generating documentation. And it is also available for other languages such as Objective-C, for example. Dependency management. So can everyone at the same time tell me what tool I'm going to show there? Right. Again, the best way to manage library dependencies in Objective-C projects, as they say on their website, and that is true, because, well, honestly, it's just the only one. And it's pretty good. It does what it's supposed to. It has simple syntax, and it is pretty good. Diagnostics. Here we have Coco Lumberjack. This one is it's like NSLog but on steroids. So it allows you to send one log statement to different loggers. Like, for example, print it in the console and save it into a file. It allows you to create your own loggers to I don't know, send it to a database or over network or I don't know, anywhere. And it also has flexible configuration, and it allows you to change log levels and stuff like that. So it's pretty powerful. Then there is DC Introspect. This is a set of small tools that you link into your application while debugging on a simulator, and it allows you to, it's very helpful when debugging UI layouts which are dynamically created or changed during the runtime. So it can show you the actual size of elements and stuff like that. Then there is this little thing, Kodi Debugger. It allows you to basically monitor the traffic, the network requests that are coming out of your application, out of your device. And it also has a rudimentary core data browser, but mostly it's for monitoring network traffic while debugging your app. And and it does so by using Chrome developer tools, if it matters, I don't know. Sim folders, another tiny useful thing. It shows you, it gives you quick access to simulator folders. That's all it does. Very tiny thing, but quite useful. Here, this one even has a video. It's kind of hard to explain. Reveal, and there's also similar tool called Spark Inspector. It allows you to see the 3D view of your application in the runtime, seeing what views your app actually consists of and how they interact, what notifications are sent, and stuff like that. Looks pretty impressive. Well, you get the idea. And other. Apart from all that, there is a number of, for example, tools to make mock-ups of design. There's, I don't know, at least 20 of those. There have the pros and cons. There's also always pencil and paper. But you might need something more powerful here. Here are just, some of the most popular ones. There's a bunch of tools for core data, for browsing core data projects, for generating core data code and editing and things like that. A whole list of tools for deployment, for analyzing crash reports, for just driving your app, things like that. And of course, there are some Xcode plugins. I'm gonna mention only 3 of them. There is Color Sense. It's a plugin that allows you to preview the color when you use NS Color or UI Color, and you hover over the mouse, and it shows you the color picker and shows you the exact color that you're using. Or it also gives you completion with color picker when you using NS Color or UI Color. It's a tiny little thing, but looks like magic. Then there is Image Name. It gives you auto completion of images in your bundle. Then the last one is pretty obvious. CocoaPod's Xcode plugin. It just adds CocoaPod support to Xcode. And here's the bomb. Those were little things, well, some of them relatively little, but here's a huge alternative IDE out there, AppCode. How many of you have heard of it? Oh, that's impressive. How many of you are using it? Oh, that's almost the same number, a little less. Oh, that's nice. So I'm going to talk a little bit about AppCode here. First, some background for those of you who don't know or never heard about AppCode. It's an Objective-C IDE. And we released the first version in the end of 2011, if I'm not mistaken. By that time, we already had a huge experience in creating tools for all kinds of developers, for Java developers, .NET developers, for Ruby, Python developers, and we have created a bunch of really awesome tools. And it felt like Objective-C developers were missing some of the coolness that we could give them. And especially looking at the early versions of Xcode, like version 3, for example. When we were thinking about making our own IDE, the Xcode version was 3.2.6 out there. Anyone remembers it? No one? Oh, well, I'll show you later. Yeah, but the question is, why didn't we just, make an Xcode plugin? Because we have experience like this. We have Resharper for C# developers, and Resharper is a plugin for Visual Studio. And some people ask, why didn't you just, make a plugin for Xcode? And there are two sides of this story. First, we had already IntelliJ platform, on which we built all the other our IDEs like RubyMine or PyCharm or WebStorm, PHPStorm. And it already has a lot of code with a lot of features for version control integration, for integrating with issue trackers, for general IDE settings, things like that. And another thing is that Apple doesn't support plugins for Xcode. Anyone ever tried to write an Xcode plugin? No one's brave enough, really. Because they change all the subsystems all the time, unpredictably. The behavior changes just like that, and there's no way to predict. There's no documentation, and if you find some, it's outdated, 100%. So the plugins that I showed before, they're very tiny. They give you completion for resources, and that's it. That's all they do. Or they give you, what was that? Color picker, and that's it. That's why. That's all because to make a complicated plugin would require a lot of efforts just on supporting every version and keeping up with Xcode. That would be tedious. I don't know if you see, but that was Xcode 3.2.6. It also had multiple windows, and it's really not clear where to integrate into this thing. And actually, every person who came to Objective-C development from any other background and first saw this, that's a face like this for some time. But then, you learn to live with it. What's the difference? What's the difference between AppCode and Xcode? As I said, we already have a lot of experience with working with code, and we know how to treat it right. We know that it's not text, so you can't just, when you're looking for usages, it's not just text matches. It has to be actually usages and things like that. When you rename something, you rename the symbols and its usages, not the text matches and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that you need to know when working with the code, which sometimes some editors fail to understand. Another thing is that we think that it's awesome that there are great tools out there, great new frameworks, and we try to integrate with the best of them, like with the Kiwi testing frameworks. framework, like with the Dash, like with Cocoa Bot. And it's a fully fledged IDE, so that supports all kinds of version controls, all kinds of issue trackers, has local history and things like that. And it's only just, for example, Git. It's Git, Mercurial, Perforce, TFS, SVN, and some other, I don't remember them all, to be honest. And we support plugins, unlike Xcode, unlike Apple. We don't close in this little space like, no, we do what we want to do, we don't let anyone in. We actually encourage developers to create their own plugins for AppCode. Go ahead, do it, that's an awesome thing. We will be pleased and we will tell about you. Demo. That's what it looks like. It looks Java-ish, I know. It doesn't look native. That's one of the things we have to argue with people about because, yeah. But it does know your code better than Xcode. I'm not going to show all the things it can do for you. I'm only going to show the things that we can do and that for some reason Xcode still cannot do. And sometimes those are simple things, sometimes a little bit more complicated. So for example, the most basic thing is code completion, right? That's the first thing you look at in any code editor. And of course we have basic code completion, the same as in Xcode, but we also have smart type completion, which can do things like this, for example. If I remove this, and wait, I will turn on a thingy that shows shortcuts, so I won't have to tell them. Okay, yeah, it works. So it gives me a lot more precise list of choices based on the context. So allocate things I can do a lot faster. The same, ta-da. I don't know, 100, height, 20. And this one, I learned this one actually recently. It's Command Shift Enter to finish the statement. Sometimes very useful. So that's one of the things. Then we have, that's not about completion. We have a lot of inspections and intention actions. Those are the things. Inspections, they check your code for quality, and if they find potential bugs, mostly potential bugs or different issues with code. You see a light bulb in this gutter, and Alt-Enter will give you some help with it. And there are intention actions which help you improve the code structure. For example, or just finish something that you started. For example, I will start using something that is not imported. I'll just start using it and Alt-Enter, and there is an import there. It's a very simple thing, really, but for some reason Xcode still doesn't have it. So you can't forget about imports. You just, it will be highlighted and it will be added automatically. When it's not there, you see it was grayed out. So it also checks for unused imports, duplicated imports, and you can always Alt-Enter and optimize them. So they're not there anymore. Now another thing, here's some inspection. I'm gonna use
Sorry, could you just throw up a bit? Because actually right now we see your face instead.
Oh, okay. I will scroll up.
Oh, great.
Better. Do something new. There is no such method anywhere in the project, and so that's actually a bug. And there is an inspection that tells me, okay, that's not supposed to be here. So, but there's a quick fix. Alt-Enter just to create a new one, and it's there. So I can basically just start using anything, methods, all kinds of symbols, and create them automatically with Alt-Enter. But this one is not defined anywhere yet. So declare it, sorry. Let's declare it, I don't know, in the interface, yeah, pretty normal. Now what to do with it? I know. Another, I forgot to do something. Wait, first I want to refactor this one. With Ctrl T, it shows me all available refactorings. A lot more than Xcode has. And they actually work. And they don't break your code base. And for example, change signature. I'm going to add a parameter here. And it's there. And you see here where the usage was. There's a default value now. Because, well, something had to go there. It has it takes something now. Now the switch. I'd enter and just automatically create missing switch cases. If you already started typing, you can just automatically generate the rest of them. What I was talking about, the finding usages. For example, here, of course it looks through the whole your project, but it also looks, for example, in zip files. IB action, Alt F7 to find usages, and there it is in a zip file. So, if for example I want to rename it, it's Shift F6 to something weird, I don't know. Which, by the way, works in place. You don't need any dialogues for that. And you notice already here that it's been renamed in this zip file as well. Moving on. About generating all kinds of things. You can generate common code constructs with common common end. For example, init encode with coded or SQL and hash, and they're out there. You can let's do something with this. I copy pasted some code, and it can't resolve. I'm going to rename this to suggested label. There is another problem here. What is it? I should cast it. Ta-da. Now what I want to do, I'm going to take this one here, and from this thing, I'm going to extract method, for example. Where is it? There it is. Configure label, for example. Let's call it. Control Enter. And there it is. There is usage. And I extracted method with the parameter. Another thing is live templates, which can help you generate all kinds of things, like for example, iterations, or I don't know. There are also another kind of templates that can generate, they're called surround with, and they can help you surround with the, not the wrong shortcut, sorry. No, crap, I forgot the shortcut. There it is. For example, if with if statement, or with while, or do while, or again for statement, or with this one, response to selector. So you don't have to actually type, you just select the block of code, and you surround it with this one. And there are many other things. I just mentioned a few that popped up first, and I could probably go on and think, oh, there's this thing and there's another thing. But I also wanted to show So for example, I was mentioning that we integrate with Dash. I think it's Shift F1. Yeah, there it is. It found something for me in the Dash. So you just need to say, okay, I want to use Dash as my external documentation browser. We also support ingredients, but Dash seems to be more popular. And every time you look for something in documentation, we'll just open it in Dash. Or Cocoa Pods, for example. Here's a pod file, and you can use code completion here. Lumberjack, for example. No. Yeah, there it is. This one. And it says, okay, some of the pods are not installed. And again, I enter. And, well, there's no internet. There is no internet, so it's not going to work. But here's the thing with the Alt Enter and in the editor, whenever you work with code files, with your normal code and so on, when you're in doubt, hit Alt Enter, there will be something to help you there. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to be ready to answer any questions about features and stuff later. But that's not it. Based on what people more often ask, I have some more slides. Xcode, back to Xcode. It is an IDE, but you still need Xcode. There's a trick. It needs Xcode to be installed and to be running. But the good news are that it's 100% Xcode compatible. And even with the latest previews or releases, normally it takes us a couple of days to release an update if needed when the new version of Xcode is out there. And we use the same project model. We don't introduce any project models, we just take the same one. So you can work on your project switching from Xcode to AppCode. You can open in AppCode your existing project, and then if you like, switch back to Xcode and back and forth. It's going to stay synchronized. And we do integrate with Xcode a lot. So here's the list of some things we integrate in Xcode with. The first thing is Xcode build. We don't build your project. We let Xcode build, make the binaries, and we run them or test them, run them on simulator device, we debug them, and so on. But we don't actually interfere with the complicated logic of building a project. Simulator and device, we can run your apps on them, test, debug, everything. Debugger, GDB and LLDB. As for GDB, we take the one from the main Xcode in your system. So if you have several versions of Xcode installed, the one that you last chosen with sudo Xcode select, we take the GDB from that one. And LLDB, well, it's young and not very stable, so we take the last one, the most the newest one, and we take it with us. We can launch instruments from AppCode. We can run C-Long analyzer on your on a file in background, and then show the results of analysis with right in the editor. And as for project settings, there is a dialog for configuring build settings. But at the moment, you still need Xcode to configure build phases or metadata, things like that. Like I said, we're still young, so there are still some things you need Xcode for. And last thing, oh, you cannot see from here, I don't know, Xcode system utilities, some of them. We use some Xcode system utilities to analyze crash reports and stack traces, because crash reports from a device, they come not symbolicated, and there are no method names, symbol names, anything. There are only addresses in programs. So we can take debug symbols from the application and run everything through Xcode system utilities, and then get the method names and show them in the view with the links and everything nice and clear. And naturally, there are troubles. If you try to integrate with Xcode, there are troubles. First of all, with every Xcode update, the same problem as for Xcode plugins, something stops working. Some integration stops working because the behavior changed, and every time there's an Xcode update, we get a bunch of red tests. And for a couple of days, the only thing we do is just figure out what happened, what changed, how it changed, fix some tests. Yeah, normally it takes not like a couple of days, not sometimes up to a week, but that's an extreme case to fix what happened. And the worst thing here is simulator. That thing, that even when it's not a new version, it likes to behave like a spoiled woman, you know, like, I don't want to work today. I don't want to, no, I changed my mind. And it's just, it takes a lot of effort from the whole team to make this thing run and be stable. That's, yes, well, I'm laughing now, but I can imagine. I just can see in my head all the tears and all the bad words that are being said every time about this one. Another thing, LLDB, like I said, it's very young. So with every version, there is a compatibility problem, meaning that between the debugger and compiler. The thing is, for example, with if you take code and compile it in Xcode 5, and then try to debug it with debugger from Xcode 4.6, it doesn't show the contents of objects. It just doesn't understand the debug information from new compiler. And another thing is, to evaluate expression with LLDB requires a lot of work, because we have to actually cast methods to the return value. We have to explain to it, like, okay, we have macros here. It doesn't know anything about macros at all, so it doesn't take them into account. And there is a huge work. We have our own internal project structure that we use to bring the expression to a form which LLDB would be actually able to evaluate. And the last problem, but not the least, it's feedback from Apple. Feedback that we give to it and the reaction, because we use the same tracker as everyone else. We don't have any privileges, we don't have any special conditions or anything like that. So when we encounter a bug in Xcode, and we do a lot, and we post it through the bug tracker, which everybody else uses, and the reaction, you probably posted bugs to Apple, right? Yeah. Was it fixed? And if it was, how soon? Because it seems very random. And sometimes they fix things, sometimes they don't. And again, like with Xcode versions, you never know what's going to happen. So that's a huge difficulty for us. But we struggle, and hopefully it will get better. One of the things, so what are we going to do with this Xcode integration? So we're going to do the project settings editing in AppCode, so you won't need to switch to Xcode to edit build phases and things like that. Also, I didn't mention, but AppCode supports not only Objective-C, but also C++. Well, to be fair, also JavaScript, HTML, CSS, XML.
SAS less.
A what?
SAS and less.
Maybe. Maybe too, yeah. that could be true. So we're going to add more cool features for code generation, refactorings, and things like that for C++, for example, in the newest versions. We're thinking about adding core data editor. So I put a question mark here because we're thinking about it, and it's gonna be there, but we're not sure when exactly. And the last thing is interface builder. We don't have it yet, and we still haven't decided if we need to do one or not, because from what we see from feedback from users, they seem, well, again, maybe not happy, but satisfied with what Xcode has. And it would be a huge amount of work of creating an interface builder in AppCode, and it's not clear for us at the moment if it's worth it or not. It seems like most of the people are quite okay with interface builder in Xcode. So that's an open question. And apart from Xcode, what we're going to do, we're going to support more awesome tools. And if, I don't know, there is your favorite testing framework out there that is not supported, feel free to write feature requests. We have a public issue tracker, and make your friends vote for it, if they actually use it, of course. Otherwise, it doesn't make much sense. And we plan to gradually reduce Xcode integration, less and less of those fights and troubles. And naturally, we're going to be adding more and more cool coding features. And that's it. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed, and if you're curious about AppCode, here's the website, here's the Twitter account, and if you have any questions, you can ask me now or later. Anyone wants to ask anything now?
I got one question.
Okay.
Where is the full list of all features of AppCode? Because I got access to the shortcut list, but this is not enough. For example, you've shown some shortcut that I didn't know that they
Which
exist.
one?
For example, this Ctrl-C or Ctrl-N, command.
Well, those are definitely. Well, I can show you one cool thing actually. But that's mostly. Well, first of all, those actions are mentioned on our website several times, and they are in the. So where is it? Default key map reference. They're out there. There's like yes, there are lots of shortcuts. But the thing is, we strongly believe that mouse kills your productivity, you know, when you're typing using shortcuts, you're fast and productive. When you need to use your mouse, it slows you down. So yeah, there are lots of shortcuts. But another thing that can be helpful here, find action. I don't know. Find usages. Alt F7. Generate command N, and there's also some other for XML and I don't know if it's file structure, or to switch something. That's open class, open file, open symbol, quick and so on. So you can just try to find. Yeah, that's like that's actually a very useful thing, because at first especially you don't remember all the shortcuts naturally, and this one helps a lot just to find something.
Do you have any plans on integrating some UI debugging libraries that you mentioned earlier into AppCode, or something that you have in mind? When you have an app with UI, you can see the whole hierarchy of views and change and stuff. I've seen a lot of tools like this, and do you have any plans on integrating this in AppCode?
Not yet. Probably because, you know, the thing is, the way we develop the IDE is mostly based on feature requests from users, from feedback, and so on. So it's especially because, you know, it's a very young IDE. Some more mature guys may just, you know, think about, okay, what else can we do? We have a lot of things still to add. Like, for example, we don't have all the project settings editor, and we don't have core data editor. And also we get feature requests from users, some of them more often, some just once or twice, some, and it depends. And we try to see what people need the most by just analyzing their feedback. And I don't think we had many requests for that. So if that would be very, very necessary, I guess people would just ask, like, or create it. You can create a feature request. Okay. That's how it works.
Okay, so I have one question. It's maybe not strictly about AppCode, but there is still one big group of programmers who doesn't know the goodness of JetBrains IDEs in C++. Do you plan any integration with Visual Studio or separate IDE?
Both. The thing is, I think already now there is some C++ support in Resharper, which is a plugin for Visual Studio. I'm not aware of the list of the features that they have for C++. I just heard that they added some support, but you can check on the website. And we actually announced it some time ago that we're working on a separate C++ IDE, which will be cross-platform. And on the website, I think we have. Oh well, I'm not connected. Oh well, you're not connected. So there is a page on the website. Currently we're in progress of making a C++ IDE. I cannot tell you when exactly it will be released, the first preview, the first version, but the work is in progress. It will be out there. Again, if there are any specific features that you would need from C++ IDE, you can already start filing requests for it. And you can already influence the way it's being developed and in which way it's going to go.
You recently released 2.5, yes?
Yes, that's true.
So what are the plans next? 3.0, when shall we expect that, and so on?
We haven't yet fixed the date, so approximately, I'd say like March. But that's out of thin air, so we haven't actually. We have a draft of the features that we will read. It's not public yet, and it's still not complete. We're still working on it, and well, I'm just telling you the approximate because normally it should take something like this, maybe in April, maybe, but I'd say I guess March, something like this. But that can change. It's not set yet. It's just my imagination. Okay, thank you.